Keir Starmer entered Downing Street on the promise of probity and grip. And 12 months on, the problem is not one of one scandal, but a cumulative problem of scandals. Senior figures are exiting in rapid succession, and each departure reopens questions of judgment, culture, and basic operational control. This afternoon, barely half an hour ago, Paul Ovenden, the Prime Minister's Director of Strategy and one of the core architects of the Labour attack operation in opposition, resigned after leaked 2017 messages showed lurid and explicitly sexual comments about Diane Abbott. He says he brought forward a planned exit to avoid distraction. That framing may be technically true, but the politics are clear. It adds a fresh wound to an already bleeding number 10. Why does this matter beyond poor taste? First, Ovenden was not peripheral. He drafted lines, shaped PMQs, preparation. He sat inside the strategic cockpit. Losing him weeks before the party conference is operationally disruptive. Secondly, the target of the remarks is the mother of the House, a pioneering black MP, twice suspended in recent years and now an explicit internal critic of Starmer's handling and direction. It reinforces a narrative of disrespect and factional disdain that Labour cannot afford. Ovenden's exit lands on top of Angela Rayner's resignation over a ministerial code breach tied to stamp duty, still raw among supporters who now feel both punished and leaderless. It also follows the Mandelson fiasco, where the Prime Minister admitted he would not have appointed him to Washington had he known what later emerged about undeclared Epstein correspondence. Each case is different, but the public reads sameness. Poor judgment at the top, slow response under pressure, and a team culture that thinks it can ride out storms. Compounding this is the controversy around Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff, who's reported to have pushed hard for Mandelson's appointment and, depending on which briefing you believe, to have been the last ally holding the line as the case became indefensible. Downing Street denies he obstructed removal. Either way, the impression sticks that the personnel radar is off and the political debt is overriding prudence. Why does this damage bite so hard? There are three reasons, I think. First, Starmer's core offer was clean government and managerial competence. So this breaks that brand promise. When your senior lieutenants are resigning for ethics and propriety failures, the message collapses into the old British punchline, same circus, new clowns. That line writes itself for opponents. This week should have been about policy, growth, security, public service, repair. Instead, the news grid is monopolised by personnel triage that crowds out any attempt to govern the country. Reform UK's recruitment of a sitting Tory MP, Farage's oxygen-hogging pressers, would usually command the grid. Today, the government gifted him cover. It reopens Labour's unresolved fractures. The Abbott dimension matters. You can disagree with her politics and still recognise that disrespect of this sort echoes a deeper cultural problem from the Corbyn years through to now, a habit of treating some MPs as fair game. Abbott is already warning that if Starmer doesn't turn results around by May's locals, it will be over. That quote will be replayed for months. So who failed here? There are four things that any functioning political office must have. It must have proper scrutiny. It must do its vetting. It must scan the horizon. It must. A director of strategy is a risk-bearing asset. You run operations on your own team as ruthlessly as you do on the other side. You assume every WhatsApp, every email will surface. If number 10 did that, it's either missed this cash or discounted it. Either way, that is a system failure. The Rayner case dragged. The Mandelson reversal was messy. Initial defiance, then sacking, then the confession that he would never have appointed him. The Ovenden line, planned departure brought forward, reads as choreography under duress. Voters punish dithering more than decisive unpleasantness. As for the sort of ethical culture, a leader cannot police every private message, but he can set an unmistakable red line. If you author derogatory sexual commentary about colleagues, especially a senior female MP, you cannot speak for the government. That statement must be explicit, short and repeated. And the chain of command is just chaotic. Too many stories centre on one node, McSweeney, when one figure is simultaneously strategist, gatekeeper and political debt collector. You get groupthink and blind spots. The machine needs internal challenge, not court politics. Blue Labour is finished. Opponents now have a simple, lethal frame. Starmer runs a government that lectures the country on standards and fails its own. Expect lines about hypocrisy, weakness and drift. Expect Abbott's over by May to become a countdown clock. Expect every policy announcement to be met with a personnel question. That is how administrations lose altitude fast. And what Starmer must do in the next 72 hours, and if he hesitates, this will become his permanent reputation. He's got 5 moves, immediately actionable. He must deliver a plain apology to Abbott, publicly and directly. He must name the offence, condemn it, reaffirm her status and contribution. Do not blur it with "if anyone was offended" evasions, not a fake apology. He must publish the internal standards protocol for special advisers, mandatory refreshers, whistleblowing routes, sanctions ladder. Put it online by close of play tomorrow, then enforce it. He must rewire number 10. He must split political strategy from chief of staff function, appoint an independent chair of hiring and ethics sign-off who can say no to star names and historic friends. If McSweeney says he's going to stay, narrow his brief. If he goes, do it at once and cleanly rather than death by briefing. You cannot PR your way out of this. You can only govern your way out. Announce 2 concrete voter-facing measures this week, one on cost of living, one on policing and public order, and make ministers carry them out. Every interview begins with "here is what changed today." And scrap indulgent set pieces and give a leaner leader's speech built around 3 verbs and 4 numbers. Signal that the era of clever lines and court favourites is over. Overden's departure will tempt a tribute act, an oratory tribute act. Resist it. That's my advice to Starmer. The country can forgive a scandal. It cannot forgive the sense that the government is unserious. Today is not just about one aide's ugly words in 2017. It is a diagnostic demonstration of a system that hires too tightly, vets too lightly, responds too slowly. If Starmer wants to move the moral licence to govern, he must show that standards apply hardest at the centre and that his mission survives the loss of any individual. Politics abhors a vacuum. Either number 10 fills it with competence and contrition, or others will fill it with contempt. Right now the public is writing its verdict in pencil. By May it will be in ink, and it will have